It was a bright Tuesday morning in downtown Boston, and the Morning Brew Cafe was buzzing with its usual breakfast crowd. The small but popular coffee shop sat on the corner of Main Street, its large windows letting in streams of golden sunlight that made the polished wooden tables gleam. Sarah Matthews pulled up to the cafe in her shiny black Mercedes, adjusting her designer sunglasses in the rearview mirror. At 45 years old, she was one of Boston's most successful real estate agents, known for selling million-dollar properties to the city's elite. Her perfectly styled blonde hair, expensive clothes, and attitude of superiority made her stand out wherever she went. Inside the cafe, Destiny Williams was already 4 hours into her morning shift. The 23-year-old waitress moved gracefully between tables, her bright smile never fading despite the busy rush. Her dark curly hair was neatly pulled back in a bun, and her morning brew uniform was spotlessly clean. Working here wasn't just a job for Destiny, it was her stepping stone to something bigger. Every tip she earned went straight into her savings for nursing school. The bell above the door chimed as Sarah walked in, her high heels clicking against the wooden floor. The other customers, mostly regular working people enjoying their morning coffee, glanced up briefly before returning to their conversations. Sarah's presence seemed to make the warm atmosphere of the cafe turn slightly colder. "Good morning, welcome to Morning Brew." Destiny greeted Sarah with genuine warmth, holding her notepad ready. She didn't know Sarah personally, but she had served her several times before and remembered her complicated coffee orders. Sarah barely looked at Destiny as she sat down at her usual table by the window. "I'll have my usual," she said, already typing on her phone, "and make sure it's actually hot this time." Destiny nodded professionally, even though Sarah wasn't looking at her. One large soy latte with sugar-free vanilla syrup, extra hot, with a quarter shot of espresso and light foam coming right up. As Destiny worked on preparing the complex drink, she could hear Sarah's loud phone conversation floating across the cafe. "No, tell them I won't accept anything less than $2 million for that property," Sarah was saying. "Do they know who I am? I don't work with people who can't afford my properties." The other customers tried to ignore Sarah's voice, but many exchanged knowing looks. They had seen her type before. People who thought their money made them better than everyone else. Destiny carefully prepared the drink, making sure everything was perfect. She had learned early on that attention to detail was important in this job, especially with particular customers like Sarah. The steam from the milk rose in delicate swirls as she heated it to exactly the right temperature. Meanwhile, more customers had come in, filling nearly every table. The morning sunlight now fully illuminated the cafe, making the local artwork on the walls stand out. The smell of fresh coffee and warm pastries filled the air, mixing with the quiet chatter of conversations and the gentle music playing from the speakers. Destiny picked up Sarah's finished drink and carried it carefully to her table. The foam was perfect, the temperature was exactly as requested, and she had even added the artistic leaf design on top that the cafe was known for. "Here's your latte, ma'am," Destiny said, placing it gently on the table. "Extra hot, just as you like it. Can I get you anything else?" Sarah finally looked up from her phone, her expression sharp and critical. She stared at the drink for a moment, then picked it up slowly. The cafe seemed to get quieter, as if everyone could sense what was coming. Several regular customers who knew both Sarah's reputation and Destiny's kind nature watched nervously. The next few seconds would change everything. As Sarah lifted the cup to her lips, nobody in the cafe could have predicted how this simple morning coffee order would spiral into a viral moment that would destroy one woman's reputation and change another's life forever. Little did anyone know, but on this ordinary Tuesday morning, Karma was about to serve something much hotter than coffee. Sarah took her first sip of coffee, and immediately her face twisted with disgust. She pulled the cup away from her lips and slammed it down on the table, causing some of the hot liquid to splash onto the polished wood surface. "What is this?" she demanded, her voice rising above the cafe's peaceful morning chatter. "I specifically asked for it to be extra hot, and this is barely warm." Destiny, who was serving a nearby table, turned quickly at the sound of Sarah's angry voice. She knew for certain she had heated the milk to the perfect temperature. It was something she took pride in getting right every time. "I'm so sorry if it's not to your liking, ma'am," Destiny said calmly, walking back to Sarah's table. "I'd be happy to make you another one." Her hands were clasped in front of her uniform, maintaining her professional posture despite Sarah's growing anger. The other customers in Morning Brew began to notice the situation. A young man with glasses lowered his newspaper. Two college students stopped their conversation mid-sentence. Even the elderly couple in the corner, who came to the cafe every morning, paused their breakfast to watch. "Sorry, you're sorry." Sarah's voice got even louder. She stood up from her chair, her designer heels making her tower over Destiny. "Do you know how much I pay for my coffee here? Do you even understand what extra hot means?" The cafe had gone completely quiet now. The only sounds were the soft background music and the gentle hum of the coffee machines behind the counter. Mark, the cafe manager, started moving from behind the counter, sensing trouble brewing stronger than any of their coffee blends. "Ma'am, I assure you I followed your order exactly," Destiny explained politely, though her heart was beating faster. "But if you'd like, I can remake it right now with the milk even hotter." Sarah's face turned red with anger. She looked around the cafe, seemingly encouraged by all the attention she was getting. "You people never get anything right," she spat out. "I bet you didn't even go to college. That's why you're just a waitress." A few gasps could be heard around the cafe. An older woman at a nearby table covered her mouth in shock. Everyone could hear the racist undertone in Sarah's words, made worse by the way she was looking at Destiny with pure contempt. Destiny felt her cheeks grow warm, but she kept her composure. 4 years of working in customer service had taught her how to handle difficult situations, though none quite like this. She took a deep breath and spoke clearly. "Ma'am, I'm actually working here to pay for nursing school. Now, would you like me to remake your coffee?" "Nursing school?" Sarah laughed coldly. "Please, the only thing you'll be nursing is my patience. I want to speak to your manager right now." Mark was already approaching the table, his face serious. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, standing supportively next to Destiny. "Yes, there's a problem." Sarah pointed at her coffee cup. "Your waitress here doesn't know how to make a simple coffee order. And now she's giving me attitude about it." Several customers who were regular patrons of the cafe began shaking their heads. They knew Destiny well. She was known for her excellent service and friendly personality. Many of them had received perfect drinks from her countless times. "I've been watching the situation," Mark said firmly, "and I can assure you that Destiny is one of our best employees. She offered to remake your drink, which is more than fair. There's no need for this level of hostility." Sarah's eyes narrowed dangerously. Her hand moved toward the coffee cup, gripping it tightly. The tension in the cafe reached its peak, like a pot about to boil over. Everyone could sense that something was about to happen, something that would turn this already unpleasant scene into a moment that would soon shock social media and change lives forever. No one could have guessed that the next few seconds would become the most viewed video in Boston that week, or that Sarah's next action would destroy her carefully built reputation in less time than it takes to make a cup of coffee. Time seemed to slow down in the Morning Brew cafe as Sarah Matthews stood there, her manicured fingers wrapped tightly around the coffee cup. The morning sun streaming through the windows cast a spotlight on the scene, as if nature itself wanted to highlight what was about to happen. Several customers had already pulled out their phones, sensing that something newsworthy was about to unfold. A young woman in the corner had her phone pointed directly at Sarah and Destiny while pretending to check her social media. A businessman 2 tables over had stopped his morning email check and was now recording openly. "You know what?" Sarah's voice cut through the tense silence. "I don't want another coffee. What I want is for you people to learn your place." With those words, she suddenly lifted the coffee cup. Everything happened in a flash. Sarah's arm swung forward, and the hot coffee flew through the air. Destiny didn't have time to step back. The brown liquid splashed across her clean white uniform and onto her arms. Some drops even reached her face, barely missing her eyes. The cafe erupted in shocked gasps and cries. "Oh my God!" someone shouted. Chairs scraped against the floor as several customers jumped up. The elderly couple from the corner table rushed to grab napkins. The young college students who had been studying now stood with their mouths open in shock. Destiny stood frozen for a moment, coffee dripping from her uniform. The hot liquid stunned her skin, but the hurt in her eyes showed that the physical pain wasn't what bothered her most. She had faced rude customers before, but never such a public display of hatred and disrespect. Mark, the manager, immediately stepped between Sarah and Destiny. "That's assault," he said firmly. "I'm calling the police right now." He pulled out his phone while motioning to another employee to help Destiny. Sarah, instead of showing any regret, stood there with a smug smile. "Call whoever you want," she said, reaching for her designer purse. "I have the best lawyers in Boston. Nobody will believe a waitress over me." What Sarah didn't notice was that nearly every customer in the cafe had their phones out now. The incident had been captured from at least 7 different angles. A young tech-savvy customer in the corner was already uploading his video to Twitter. Another had started a live stream on Instagram. "Are you okay, honey?" A kind-looking woman who introduced herself as Dr. Martinez approached Destiny. "I'm a doctor. Let me look at those burns." She guided Destiny to a chair while shooting a disgusted look at Sarah. The cafe's other waitress, Jenny, rushed over with a first aid kit and clean towels. The morning's peaceful atmosphere had completely transformed into a scene of chaos and caring. Chaos from the incident, and caring from the community of customers who rushed to help. "You'll be hearing from my lawyers, too," Sarah shouted, finally realizing that many phones were pointed at her. She grabbed her purse and started walking toward the door, her high heels clicking against the floor like angry exclamation points. Just before she reached the exit, a tall man in a business suit stepped in front of her. "Ma'am, I believe the police will want to speak with you. I suggest you stay right here." He was one of the cafe's regular customers, and as it turned out, a local judge. Sarah's face, which had been red with anger, suddenly turned pale. For the first time, she looked around and really saw all the phones recording her. She saw the hostile faces of the customers. She saw Dr. Martinez attending to Destiny's burns. She saw Mark on the phone with the police. The reality of what she had done began to sink in, but it was too late. Her actions had been captured, and in the next few hours, the videos would spread across social media like wildfire. Her carefully built image as a successful businesswoman was about to crumble faster than she could say, "Extra hot latte." Unknown to Sarah, at that very moment, the first video of the incident was being uploaded with the caption, "Rich woman assaults black waitress over coffee temperature. Help make this go viral. #CoffeeBigUp, #Boston Karma." The next 24 hours would teach Sarah Matthews a lesson about karma that no amount of expensive coffee could wash away. The next 30 minutes at Morning Brew Cafe felt like a scene from a movie. 2 police officers arrived with their blue lights flashing outside the large cafe windows. Officer Rodriguez and Officer Thompson walked in, their presence bringing a sense of order to the chaotic scene. Sarah Matthews sat at a corner table, her designer purse clutched tightly to her chest. The smug smile was gone from her face, replaced by a nervous frown as she watched customers eagerly showing their phone recordings to the police officers. Dr. Martinez had taken Destiny to the cafe's break room, where she carefully treated the mild burns on her arms. "You're lucky the coffee had cooled down somewhat," the doctor explained while applying burn cream. "But these marks will take a few days to heal." Jenny, the other waitress, had brought Destiny a clean uniform from her locker. "I can't believe she did that to you," Jenny said, her voice shaking with anger. "But don't worry, everyone saw what happened. She won't get away with this." Outside the break room, Mark was giving his statement to Officer Rodriguez. "We have security cameras too," he explained, pointing to the corners of the cafe. "I've already asked our person to save the footage." The elderly couple who were regulars at the cafe had refused to leave until they made sure Destiny was okay. Mrs. Anderson, the wife, kept bringing fresh cold compresses to the break room. "We've been coming here for 5 years," she told Officer Thompson. "Destiny is the sweetest girl you'll ever meet. That woman's behavior was disgraceful." Meanwhile, Sarah's phone started buzzing nonstop. The first video of the incident had already been shared thousands of times. Her social media notifications were exploding with angry comments and messages. Local news stations were calling her office, asking for statements. "Ma'am, we need your statement," Officer Rodriguez said to Sarah, flipping open his notebook. Sarah's hands trembled as she reached for her phone to call her lawyer, but before she could dial, her phone showed an incoming call from her real estate firm's managing partner. Back in the break room, Destiny sat quietly, still processing what had happened. Dr. Martinez had finished treating her burns and was writing down her contact information in case Destiny needed medical documentation for legal purposes. "How are you feeling?" Mark asked gently, entering the break room. "Take as much time as you need, and don't worry about your shift, we'll cover it." Destiny managed a small smile. I'm okay, she said softly, just shocked. I keep thinking about nursing school. I can't afford to miss any shifts. Her eyes filled with tears for the first time since the incident. Just then, Jenny rushed into the break room, her eyes wide with excitement. You guys need to see this. The video is going viral. Someone started a GoFundMe for Destiny's nursing school, and it's already at $5,000. Outside, more reporters had started gathering. The morning sun now filled the cafe completely, illuminating the scattered napkins, the empty coffee cup on the floor, and the small brown stains on the wooden floor, all evidence of the incident that would soon be known across the country. Sarah watched through the window as a local news van parked outside. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from her biggest client. Saw the video. Consider our contract terminated. The color drained from her face as she scrolled through her social media. People were already sharing old stories about her behavior at other businesses. Former employees were coming forward with their own experiences. Her carefully built reputation was unraveling with each passing minute. Officer Thompson approached Sarah's table. Ma'am, based on the evidence and witness statements, you're being charged with assault. You can either come with us to the station now, or we can issue a summons for you to appear in court. As Sarah was led out of the cafe by the police officers, she finally realized that her actions would cost her far more than the price of a cup of coffee. And for everyone watching, both in person and online, it was a powerful reminder that in the age of social media, karma works faster than ever. The incident was over, but its ripple effects were just beginning to spread across Boston and beyond. By noon that same day, Sarah Matthews' coffee attack had become the top trending topic on social media. The original video, posted by college student Mike Chen, had reached over 2 million views. People were sharing it with hashtags like #CoffeeBagot, #JusticeForDestiny, and #KarmaIsReal. Local news stations played the footage on repeat during their lunch hour broadcasts. Breaking news from downtown Boston, announced Channel 7's reporter Lisa Kennedy, standing outside Morning Brew Cafe. A disturbing incident of assault and racial discrimination has sparked outrage across the city. In her luxurious Beacon Hill apartment, Sarah sat on her white leather couch, watching her life fall apart on her large TV screen. Her phone hadn't stopped buzzing since morning. She had already received over 100 angry emails, and her social media accounts were flooded with negative comments. Sarah Matthews' racist attack on innocent Waitress read one viral tweet with 50,000 likes. Another popular post showed a split-screen image. On one side was Sarah throwing the coffee, on the other was her professional real estate headshot with the caption, "Same person, different face." More people began coming forward with their own stories about Sarah. A former housekeeper shared how Sarah had fired her for speaking Spanish on the phone during her lunch break. A past client revealed how she had made racist comments during a house showing. Meanwhile, back at her real estate office, an emergency meeting was in progress. "We can't be associated with this kind of behavior," said James Wilson, the company's CEO, addressing the board members. The video has gone national. CNN just picked up the story. By 2 p.m., Sarah's face appeared on every major news website. Business Insider ran a story titled "Boston Real Estate Agent's Coffee Attack Goes Viral, a Career-Ending Cup of Coffee." The New York Times was preparing a piece about how social media was changing the landscape of public accountability. But while Sarah's world was crumbling, something beautiful was happening for Destiny Williams. The GoFundMe campaign started by cafe customers had exploded. What began as a modest goal of $10,000 for her nursing school expenses had reached $75,000 in just 5 hours. "We stand with Destiny," wrote one donor who gave $500. "No one deserves to be treated this way while working to achieve their dreams." Another person donated $1,000 with the message, "From one nursing student to another, don't let anyone stop you." Local businesses began showing their support too. The owner of a nursing uniform shop offered Destiny free scrubs for her entire nursing school journey. 3 local hospitals reached out with scholarship opportunities. Social media users dug deeper into Sarah's past and discovered a pattern of similar behavior. Someone found an old video of her yelling at a parking attendant of color. Another person shared screenshots of her racist comments on various Facebook posts. Sarah's real estate listings started disappearing from websites one by one. Her face, once proudly displayed on top realtor billboards around Boston, was being taken down. The luxury car dealership where she appeared in commercials quickly removed her videos from their website. By late afternoon, hashtag Fire Sarah Matthews was trending nationally. Major civil rights organizations have picked up the story. News anchors were debating the incident on national television, using it as an example of how quickly social media could expose discriminatory behavior. In today's world, accountability can be instant, said a social media expert on CNN. What happened at that cafe is a perfect example of how someone's true character can be exposed in seconds, and the consequences can be just as swift. Destiny, still processing everything, sat in her small apartment reading hundreds of supportive messages from strangers. Her phone kept lighting up with notifications of news organizations wanting to interview her. Even Ellen DeGeneres' show had reached out to her agent. "Look at this," her roommate said, showing her phone to Destiny. "Your story is being shared in other countries now. You're trending in Canada and the UK." As the sun began to set on that eventful day, two things became clear. Sarah Matthews' carefully built reputation had been completely destroyed, and Destiny Williams' life was about to change in ways she never imagined. The incident that began with a cup of coffee had turned into a powerful story about racism, consequences, and the speed at which justice could be served in the age of social media. The next morning, Sarah Matthews walked into her real estate office for what would be the last time. The usual buzz of phones and friendly chatter went silent as she passed through the lobby. Employees quickly looked away, pretending to be busy with their computers. "Ms. Matthews, the board is waiting for you in the main conference room," her assistant said quietly, not making eye contact. Even she had seen the video last night. Her own daughter had shared it on Instagram. The conference room looked different today. Instead of the usual morning coffee and pastries, there were only water bottles on the table. 8 board members sat stiffly in their chairs, their faces serious. At the head of the table, CEO James Wilson stood with a thick folder in his hands. "Sarah, please take a seat," James said, his voice firm. "We've called this emergency meeting to address yesterday's incident." He opened the folder and pulled out several papers. "In the last 24 hours, he continued, our company has lost 12 major clients. The Riverside development project has pulled out completely. That's a $20 million loss." He placed the papers on the table one by one, like dealing cards in a losing hand. Sarah's hands trembled as she reached for her designer water bottle. "I can explain," she started, but James held up his hand to stop her. "There's more," he said. 4 charity organizations have removed us from their partner lists. The Boston Real Estate Association is reviewing your membership, and our phones haven't stopped ringing with complaints." Outside the conference room, employees gathered near the water cooler, whispering and checking their phones. The video had now reached 10 million views. Hashtag Sarah Matthews is cancelled was the #1 trending topic on Twitter. "The board has made its decision," James announced, sliding a document across the table. "We're terminating your partnership, effective immediately. Security will escort you to clear out your office." Sarah stared at the termination paper, her vision blurring. Just yesterday morning, her name was on the company's wall of excellence for selling the most properties in 2023. Now, a maintenance worker was already taking down her awards and certificates. Meanwhile, across town, other consequences were unfolding. The luxury apartment building where Sarah lived called an emergency homeowners association meeting. They voted to ask her to sell her penthouse unit, citing a morality clause in their bylaws. Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from her country club. Membership revoked. Another message popped up from her favorite restaurant. Your VIP reservation privileges have been cancelled. Back at her office, Sarah watched as security guards packed her belongings into boxes. Her designer handbags, framed certificates, and family photos were carefully placed inside. Her phone kept buzzing with more bad news. Her face was removed from all company marketing materials. Her parking spot was reassigned. Her business credit cards were deactivated. Her company car had to be returned. As she walked through the office one last time, she passed the break room where the TV was showing more news coverage. CNN was interviewing a business ethics expert. This is a classic example of how one moment of revealed prejudice can destroy years of carefully built professional success. Outside the building, reporters were waiting. "Ms. Matthews, do you regret your actions?" one shouted. "How does it feel to lose everything over a cup of coffee?" asked another. Sarah hurried to her car, hiding behind large sunglasses. But there was one more surprise waiting for her. On her windshield was a letter from her biggest client, the Thompson family. Dear Ms. Matthews, we are disappointed to inform you that we will no longer require your services for our real estate needs. Our family has worked with you for 5 years, but yesterday's video showed us your true character. We cannot support someone who treats others with such disrespect and racism. Sincerely, the Thompson family. As Sarah drove home, every traffic light seemed to be red, as if the universe itself was working against her. Her phone kept buzzing with more cancellations, more lost clients, more closed doors. Just 24 hours ago, she had been one of Boston's top real estate agents. Now, she was becoming one of its most notorious examples of how quickly success can vanish when character flaws are exposed to the world. The professional empire she had spent 20 years building had crumbled in less time than it takes to drink a cup of coffee. 3 days after the coffee incident, Morning Brew Cafe was busier than ever. A line of customers stretched around the block, all waiting patiently to show their support. Many carry handmade signs with messages like, "Stand with Destiny," and "No place for hate in Boston." Inside, Destiny Williams could hardly believe her eyes. The cafe's tip jar was overflowing with bills, and customers kept insisting she keep the change from their orders. "We're here for you," they would say, offering kind smiles and words of encouragement. The cafe's walls were now covered with colorful cards and letters from people all over the country. Children had sent drawings of Destiny in a nurse's uniform, with messages like, "Don't give up on your dreams," and "You're our hero." Mark, the cafe manager, had transformed one wall into a community support board. It displayed newspaper articles about the incident, printouts of supportive social media posts, and updates about the GoFundMe campaign, which had now reached an amazing $250,000. "Destiny, you got more visitors," Jenny called out excitedly. This time, it was representatives from Boston General Hospital's nursing program. They walked in wearing their hospital badges and carrying a large envelope. "Ms. Williams," the nursing director said warmly, "we've been following your story. Your grace under pressure and professional handling of a difficult situation impressed us greatly. We'd like to offer you a full scholarship to our nursing program." Destiny's hands shook as she opened the envelope. Inside was not just a scholarship offer, but also a guaranteed job placement after graduation. Her eyes filled with tears as she read the letter, remembering all the nights she had stayed up worrying about nursing school costs. Local news crews captured the moment, and soon, "Boston Hospital offers scholarship to harassed waitress" became another viral headline. The story was picking up a new angle, one of hope, community support, and dreams coming true. That afternoon, Ellen DeGeneres did a live video call with Destiny during her show. "You showed such dignity in a horrible situation," Ellen said, her face filling the cafe's TV screen. "We want to help too. We're adding $50,000 to your nursing school fund." The cafe erupted in cheers. Customers wiped away tears and hugged each other. Mrs. Anderson, the elderly regular customer who had helped Destiny after the incident, proudly told everyone around her, "That's our Destiny." Later that day, a group of nursing students from local colleges arrived wearing scrubs. They formed a line, and each gave Destiny a single rose, creating a beautiful bouquet of support from her future colleagues. "We stand with you," their spokesperson said. "What happened here shows why we need more compassionate healthcare workers like you. You're already showing the patience and professionalism that makes a great nurse." The city's mayor stopped by with an official proclamation declaring the following Monday, Stand Against Discrimination Day in Boston. He praised Destiny's composure and announced new training programs for business owners about handling discrimination. Social media continued to buzz with positive messages. Hashtag Nurse to Destiny and hashtag Boston Strong were trending. Companies like Scrubs and Beyond offered to provide Destiny's entire nursing school wardrobe for free. A local tech company donated a new laptop for her studies. Dr. Martinez, who had treated Destiny's burns, returned with more good news. "I talked to my colleagues," she said. "We're starting a mentorship program for minority nursing students, and we'd love for you to be our first participant." The day ended with a surprise flash mob outside the cafe. A group of local nursing students performed a choreographed dance to Rise Up by Andra Day. Destiny watched from the cafe door, amazed at how a terrible incident had transformed into something so beautiful. As the sun set, Destiny sat in the break room looking at all the cards, gifts, and offers of support. Her phone kept buzzing with messages from news organizations wanting to interview her. But what made her happiest was a simple text from her mom. "You've always been destined for great things, baby. Now the whole world knows it too." The coffee stains on her uniform from that day had faded, but the impact of what happened was creating lasting positive change. Sometimes, Destiny realized it takes the worst of humanity to bring out the best in everyone else. In just 3 days, a cruel act had turned into a powerful story of community, support, and dreams coming true. And this was just the beginning. 1 month after the coffee incident, the Morning Brew Cafe hosted a special celebration. Colorful balloons decorated the entrance, and a banner reading "Congratulations, Destiny" hung across the front window. It was Destiny Williams' last day as a waitress before starting nursing school. Inside, the cafe was packed with well-wishers. Regular customers, news reporters, and even the mayor had come to celebrate. On a special table near the counter sat a large cake decorated with a nurse's cap and stethoscope made of frosting. "I can't believe how much has changed in just 1 month," Destiny said to Jenny, adjusting her name tag one last time. The GoFundMe campaign had finally closed at $375,000, enough to cover not just nursing school but also living expenses and extra training courses. Meanwhile, across town in the courthouse, Sarah Matthews faced the consequences of her actions. Dressed in a simple black suit instead of her usual designer clothes, she stood before Judge Richardson, the same regular customer who had stopped her from leaving the cafe that day. "Ms. Matthews," the judge said firmly, "this court finds you guilty of assault and harassment. You will pay a fine of $10,000, perform 500 hours of community service at local hospitals, and attend mandatory sensitivity training." Sarah's lawyer had advised her to show remorse, but the damage to her life was already done. Her real estate license had been suspended. Her luxury penthouse was on the market. Most of her wealthy friends had blocked her on social media. She had become the face of privilege gone wrong. Back at Morning Brew, Destiny's celebration was in full swing. Dr. Martinez stood up to make a speech. "1 month ago, an act of hate happened here. But look what grew from it. A future nurse who will help thousands of people, new anti-discrimination laws, and a community that stood up against racism." The local news captured the moment when Mark, the cafe manager, presented Destiny with a special gift. A custom-made coffee mug that read, "From coffee cup to nursing cup, dreams do come true." Everyone laughed and wiped away happy tears. Boston General Hospital's nursing program had already set up Destiny's class schedule. Thanks to the mentorship program started by Dr. Martinez, 20 other minority students had also received scholarships. Destiny's story had inspired changes across the city's healthcare education system. The Morning Brew Cafe had changed too. Mark had installed a wall of kindness, where customers could post messages of support for others. The cafe had become a symbol of community strength and unity. Business was better than ever, with people coming from other states just to visit the place where karma had worked its magic. Sarah's story served as a powerful warning. Her viral video was now being used in corporate training sessions about workplace discrimination. Companies invited speakers to discuss how one moment of revealed prejudice could destroy a career built over decades. That evening, as Destiny prepared to leave the cafe for the last time as an employee, a surprise visitor arrived. The elderly Mrs. Anderson, carrying a small gift box. Inside was a vintage nurse's watch that had belonged to her grandmother. "You remind me of her," Mrs. Anderson said, her eyes tearing up. She faced discrimination too, but never let it stop her from helping others. She would have been proud to see you wearing her watch. The local news crews captured Destiny's final coffee service. As she served her last customer, everyone in the cafe stood up and applauded. Phones recorded the moment, but this time, the viral video would be one of triumph rather than tragedy. Outside, the sunset painted the Boston sky in beautiful colors. Destiny took off her waitress apron for the last time and hung it on a special hook Mark had installed, under a small plaque reading, "Sometimes the best dreams start with a cup of coffee." 1 month had changed everything. Sarah Matthews' actions had cost her a lifetime of privilege, but they had also opened doors for others. Destiny Williams was starting her journey to become a nurse, carrying with her the support of an entire community. As Destiny walked out of the cafe that evening, she looked back at the place where everything had changed. The coffee stains from that day were long gone, but the lesson remained. Sometimes life serves you something bitter, but it's what you make of it that matters. The incident that began with a thrown cup of coffee had become a story of justice, community support, and dreams coming true, proof that sometimes karma doesn't just work, it works perfectly.